So welcome to all of our beautiful patrons that join me once a month for this glorious space of the being the new human. Many of you have been with me for years now. Thank you. I honor you. Thank you. And welcome to all my beautiful AQE Foundation students. So we have our AQE Foundations course going on right now, and we have a big group, biggest group we've ever had. I think we're just under 40 people total. I've invited them all to the Being the New Human. I thought this would be a fantastic space for everyone to get a little bit of additional information, activations and teachings. If you don't already have my book, please consider getting the book. And if you already do have the book, thank you if you've written a review. I think we have about 10 or so reviews on Amazon right now, which is fantastic. Thank you so much. If you haven't written a review yet, if you would please consider doing that, it will really help the search engines pick up this book and put it in front of more people. All right, we're going to jump right in. So our Being the New Human class is designed to help us explore the spaces of our being that we may want to tweak, delete, cancel, adjust, edit, whatever is needed accordingly. And we all have these spaces, right? We all have these experiences where sometimes we feel like we thought we were maybe done with that particular space. We mastered that understanding or healed that emotion. And then the space comes back in some way. And so this is a reminder that we are ever expanding beings and everything is energy. And even if it is something you think you work through, understand, clear, whatever that is, you can have an echo. That's what I call them. It's like the reverberation of the energy that's just kind of fluttering through your field, right? And your response to that echo is whether that echo gets to become an alignment again, because we feed it the focus that it needs to have in order to do so, or whether it just merely seems to dissipate over time as that echo gets further and further away from you, if you will, because you vibrationally move into that new alignment of yourself more and more. So I made some notes here and I'm just going to go ahead and share them with you. We'll talk about certain spaces and then I'll open it up to a little Q&A as well. So the universe only gives you what you believe you are worthy of receiving. How many times have you heard that, right? And so we want to really believe we're worthy of abundance, we're worthy of health, we're worthy of peace, we're worthy of love, all these spaces of ourselves, right? But there's a space of this that I'd love to look at today with you, and that is that it's not really about universe giving us anything, okay? Because that's still kind of going into a God concept where something outside of us is has power over us and we can ask it for things and we can be good and gain things or deserve things or be worthy of things. But what is really coming through for us to anchor, understand, and live from is the energy vibration, the understanding of that it is more about we are the universe in the spaces of ourselves that we believe we are. And I know that can be like a loopy sentence and somebody says, wait, what is she saying there? But think about it with me for just a moment, please. We are the spaces of universe that we believe we are. So whatever we are experiencing, whatever we're experiencing in the physical world, in the reflective world, if you will, whatever we're experiencing is truly playing out, the energy playing out of what is going on inside of us. And all the spaces of tools to learn how to shift those energies are valid as far as affirmations, as far as thought process is being edited a bit and allowed to align to a higher vibration. But just allow yourself a moment with the understanding of this consciousness in this sentence. It's not even that universe gives us anything. That's an important part. We need to stop asking. It's about being it already, not asking for anything or wanting for anything. But so it's not even that universe gives us anything, but it is that we are the universe in the spaces of ourselves that we believe we are. Reflections of energy. That's all our experiences are. Reflections of energy. Now that's a really beautiful line to maybe write down somewhere and put on the refrigerator or the bathroom mirror, or maybe your screensaver on your phone. But reflections of energy, that's all our experiences are. They're reflections of energy. Now, a couple of the notes briefly, and then I'll put the notes down and just speak because I love that space better than reading notes. But this is important information that was coming in for everyone. So when we have any type of density in our being, there's like hatred, anger, judgment. When we have that toward a space or a person and an experience, even a memory, when we have hatred or any of these densities towards these spaces, then we are in that space, we attach ourselves to that energy and connection with that experience. And if it's a space you've held that type of energy with for maybe a long time, then you understand that would be why we recycle things, because you can't change lanes until you seriously, truly change lanes. You have to choose to be and be from, come from, think of, react, respond from a different energetic alignment. So how did I heal my body and my mind? Many of you know my story. I'll give a brief recap for anyone who does not. So in 2006, I began experiencing pretty severe anxiety attacks that ended up moving into panic attacks. But I didn't know that's what they were at the time. And my father had open heart surgery in his 40s. I was in my 40s. And my father passed away when he was 60-something years old from a heart thing. And so needless to say, when I started feeling like I couldn't breathe correctly and I had pain in my chest and all these other things, I started getting worried, and I thought every bad thing you can think, and went to the doctor, and they hooked me up to machines and they registered my heart and all these things. And the doctor told me that there was nothing physically wrong with me, which was wonderful to hear. But in another sense, it made me worry again in another way of then what is going on? I knew I wasn't making up what was happening. I was experiencing these spaces physically, but they said it was in my head. But I had a very good doctor. I always loved what he said. And so I mention it to you in case it's for you or someone you know. He said, I can give you a drug. And it would be like if you sat on a tack. He said, if you sat on a tack, you would have pain in your bottom where the tack was. And I can give you a drug that will numb the pain, and you'll forget that the tack is there as long as you take the drug. And he said, then if your other choice is you can go find the tack and pull it out and you'll heal, and you won't need a drug and you won't be in pain. And I thought, wow, what a good doctor, really, if you think about it. All part of my journey, all part of my laid out experience I created for myself. So I began the journey of finding the tack. Sounds like a good book. Maybe that'll be my next one. And so that meant I had to find me, because I couldn't go finding the tack until I found myself, and then I could look inside and find the tack, you know. So I went on the journey of understanding me, and I asked a lot of questions. I wanted to know why the human body functions the way it does, why the mind functions the way it does. What is this whole thing with energy? And like when somebody has a heart attack, they shock them. And why do they talk about brain waves? And I just got so inquisitive with how the body worked and how energy worked and what was the connection, and the teachings of energy medicine and the teachings of just the ways in which we could treat the body outside of maybe pharmaceutical drugs or stuff that was more what we would call maybe man-made or something like that. So I searched for the answers that were more natural. I searched for the answers and understanding of myself and my connection to this planet, to these spaces, and to all that was unfolding. I came from a very structured religious background, which I'm very grateful for. It has benefited me greatly. And from early on, I had all these questions of why we were taught a certain way, but then we lived a different way. And it really didn't sync up for me. And I found a lot of holes in the spaces of the teachings. And I just kept searching and digging and going deeper. And this experience with my own being and my own health really opened the door for me to look at it even further. So I started having really cool, I call them cool, really cool experiences with what I would say were, at that point, I would have called them angels, because I didn't have any other understanding or words to put on them. But I would sense beings by my bed. I had an injury sustained from falling down some stairs. And it's in my book, actually. I think I talk about it. The doctors couldn't help me. I had nerve damage, couldn't lift my arm above a certain point. And one of the cool experiences was I was laying in bed, taking a little rest in the afternoon. And when I was doing so, all of a sudden, I felt a presence in the room. And I looked over towards the space in which I felt the presence. And there was this massive sphere of light. And I saw this sphere of light, and it was probably 3 feet or so wide. And it began to come towards me. And it came towards me, and I just laid there. I trusted the space. And it was like kind of fast, but still at the same time, I was registering it all as a divine unfolding. And so the sphere of light got closer and closer. And then all of a sudden, it just kind of went right into me, if you will. And I could feel the energy going through all of my body, as if like it was, I felt as if it was running through the nerves that were damaged, that had been pinched from the fall. And my arms, my left arm was the arm I couldn't lift, but both of my arms at that exact moment, like went up in the air simultaneously, very fast, and then right back down again, very fast. And the sphere of light moved away and back over to whence it came. And I laid there and I was like, oh, something happened. I think I've received a healing. And so, of course, I leaned in and allowed and lifted up that arm that was only able to go so high. Most times it could only go about right here. And now I was able to go all the way up. So that was a really cool, incredible, beautiful space. But things like that started happening. I started seeing beings of light in various formats around my home. And I started hearing understandings coming in. One of the most common understandings I kept hearing was, remember who you are. And it came always in a certain tone and voice that I do share because I think it's important. But it was like a really deep tone, and it was very strong and almost stern, but from love. And it was like, remember who you are. My children joke with me, and they were young at the time, like I think 8 and 3, but they say, that sounds like the Lion King. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that movie, but I guess there's a scene in there where I think the father is trying to remind the child of who they are, and the father had passed away and comes to the child in a vision or something. I'm not sure if I'm butchering it, forgive me. That message of remember who you are became my driving point. It became my focal point of truly remembering who I was. And I realized that the remember who you are sentence, it was asking me to look beyond what I thought I was. And that's what my work does. That's what AQE, that's what ACASMA. We have these titles and these roles, these, life spaces that we get very embedded in, and we become them, really. And we lose sight of the vastness of what we are. And I know that for me, that's what had happened. I had become every label I had given myself or been given by someone else in my life experiences. I had become every label: wife, mother, friend, daughter, teacher, my job, whatever it was. But I had not in any way expanded my spiritual understanding. I hadn't, and even though I was very religious, I didn't have an expansion going on. I didn't have the balance coming in of allowing my vastness, allowing the space of who I truly am, that happens to be having this experience in this vessel with these titles and roles. I wasn't allowing that space of myself attention or expansion. It was almost like it was dormant, waiting to be activated. And when I leaned in and learned, looked into these spaces, which I believe is what each and every one of you is doing here, I began to get more and more clarity on who I was, what I am, really, what I am. And someone would say, well, what are you? What did you figure out? Well, I understood greater what it meant to be eternal. I understood greater what it means to be vast, to be a space of source experiencing itself in this particular now, but that at the same time, I am beyond this now. And I understood the rarity and the beauty within the now I'm having. And I was able to heal the spaces of myself that had become robotic, cookie cutter, boxed up, going through the motions. I was able to heal all those types of ways of being, programmed choices. And I was able to begin being more present. I was really here. I wasn't just here living out a program somebody said you're supposed to do in this way or whatever, but I was really here in my being, consciously present, allowing my vastness, my eternalness to flood into my every breath, and my being responded. So my body began healing, my mind began healing, my heart, my soul began healing, and therefore my life began healing. And my reflection I was seeing shifted and changed according to that which I was emanating out. So this is why I do what I do, because everyone deserves to be free. Everyone deserves to live in their sovereignty and their power. And when I continue this journey, which it's an everyday journey that I am now, I'm just in this default setting of joy, and I have moments still, but they are much more understood as conversations with myself. So if I have an experience that feels uncomfortable in any way, I am now able to immediately go into, what am I telling myself? I'm really able to maintain my vastness vantage point, meaning the experience isn't bigger than me. The uncomfortable energies are not bigger than me. I maintain the space of my wholeness as I navigate whatever I experience, and therefore my vantage point shifts the way in which I experience the spaces. So, all right, let's see. Let me see what else I want to share with you here. I'm just going to read this because I don't know if there's something in here I want to touch on. How did I heal my body and mind? The illness existed in the old person. She's now somebody else. I'm someone else. That person that I was had those ailments. In connection with those energies, I was being. My new version doesn't have those ailments because those energies are no longer running. Who turned them off? Me. So identifying the belief systems that built the blocks and the walls, and then allowing yourself to look inside of those belief systems and acknowledge that they are not your truth, and then being able to let them go because they don't belong to you, is a massive space of how this work unfolds. So many people will say, I know I deserve better. I know I'm worthy of more, for whatever space of life they are navigating. So allow anyone in that space, allowing yourself to look into your belief systems and to see if there's any spaces of those belief systems that most likely they weren't even yours. Like you didn't sign up and say, I would love to have this belief, but most likely somebody or something happened in which that was kind of implemented in your life. And being in the space you are now, if you're here in this class, I can understand that you have the ability within you, the consciousness within you, enough presence within you to be able to register, read the way in which your life is reflecting to you, and go within and seek out the belief structures that may be present in connection with the reflections, and then allow yourself to do a systems check and identify if any of these might even be spaces that aren't even yours, or you don't want them to be yours. And that's a choice on your part. I had a lot of belief structures that I had to find and then allow myself to, basically most of them I removed. I just realized it wasn't who I was. And some of them I tweaked or I edited a bit, or I expanded. That's another really good one. You can have some belief structures that are really, they've got potential, but they've been capped up by fear or something. And so you can expand certain belief structures and shift the way in which you are being. Yes, your energy. Okay. Some of this is going to jump a little bit, but that's all right. So this is important. Want is very different than knowing. Why? What do I mean by that? When you are living your life, energy is so powerful. It's how you're creating. So if you're coming from I want it, I want it, I want it, then you are aligning more I want it, I want it, I want it. But there is a way to want from love, if you will, or want from a space of feeling very grounded in that alignment, not as if it is something you're trying to reach out for and attain, but something that you know innately you already are. And so those are very different types of ways in which we come from the space of want. There's want that has a big connection to lack or unworthiness or anger for not having it. And that is easy to find if you ever see someone with it, whatever it is that you want. If you see someone else with it and you feel any type of envy or like judgment, like why do they have it and I don't? So that's a wonderful flag that you're giving yourself to say, okay, hold on a second. There's something here that is not optimal for me. Because if you see someone having something you want, let's say someone has a loving relationship and you want a loving relationship, and you see these people with loving relationships and it starts to make you feel as if you're angry or you're sad or whatever it is, but it's not a good feeling, right? So in that space, that's you flagging you to listen to yourself. You didn't do anything wrong. The space isn't wrong. Your life isn't wrong. You're having a conversation with yourself. In every single aspect of every experience, of every emotion, you are having a conversation with yourself. It's all energy. And so you have that moment, you feel that feeling, and you say to yourself, what am I saying? What am I telling myself here? And if it is that you have any envy or you have any type of anger towards someone else having it, like, why do they get it if I don't, any judgment or something like that, you will lean in if you choose to and say, try just right away, just try to shift it immediately, word wise, mind wise, thought wise, feeling wise. Just try that first, because a lot of times you don't have to go looking for the spaces in which it was created. All right, you don't have to find the space of yourself in which that was, you decided to hold that type of belief. A lot of times you can just change it. And so you can say, you can look at people that are in love and you can say, I'm so happy for them. I love that love is so abundant. I love that beautiful relationships are so abundant. Just try shifting it immediately, because really, in essence, that's all it is. It's just energy. It's just belief programs. It's just thought processes. And we stick ourselves inside our head like it's a prison cell sometimes, and we repeat these cyclical belief structures that are not, they're not our optimal flow, but they are the opportunity to shift to the optimal flow if we allow ourselves to see them for that. So try changing it first. Now, if that doesn't work over time, you have to give yourself some time, because it's programming. So when you implement programming, it takes a bit of time for the programming to kick in. And people will say, well, I want it to be better now. I've been doing this for weeks or months. I say, well, how old are you? And most of the time they're at least 40 or so, maybe, And I say, so how long have you been doing the program you're changing? And they look at me and their eyes get really big and they go, okay. Because we realize to give ourselves a bit of compassion and a bit of understanding, that will open up the flow of the process. The judgment on it not happening constricts it, restricts it, shuts it down, so that it's even more for you to find the spaces of you that are asking you to heal it. All right, let's see what else we have. Reality lines. If you choose one, you experience one and limit yourself to that alignment. Yet if you choose, you are as vast as all possible realities. You surf the waves of that vastness without attachment or restriction. All right, we're kind of jumping a little bit here, but that's all right. So this information is on reality lines. And I made a comment once about how if you go on any of these social platforms like YouTube, TikTok, IG, and where they have like the computer reading the way in which you choose, what you choose to follow, what you choose to look at, what posts you like the most, what videos you watch the most. So they called it an algorithm or something like that. The computer picks up on it, these different apps. And they know you, they know what you like, they know what we like. So they start putting more of that in front of us, right? So I made a little comment once where I said that, if you put 10 people in a room and they all had the same social site out, so let's just say it's TikTok, and they don't know each other. They all have very different lives, very different lifestyles, very different, things they like to do. Odds are good that those TikTok feeds are going to be very, very different. But they're going to be what that person is into, what that person likes, what that person connects with a lot, right? It's going to reflect that person. But Bob's may not reflect Mary's, and Mary's may not reflect Tom's. You know what I mean? So that's like a little reflection of, there's so many reality lines unfolding, because they're all collective reality lines, yes. And the more people you have in a certain mindset and teaching, the more that specific collective reality line has its potentiality to continue to be whatever it is. But we can shift reality lines. But it's really an interesting topic, because it helps you really open up to your vastness more when you understand the vastness of reality lines. So that's why I think this is coming in here with the teachings I've already mentioned, because not only are you so vast, yes, beyond your roles and titles and spaces of your everyday life, you're beyond that. You are that, but you're more, right? Let the more in. Let your vastness in, your eternalness in. And at the same time, you're allowing yourself to understand that there are all these reality lines out there unfolding, right? And, you know, people will say to me, do you believe this is going to happen? And it'll be maybe a prophetic end time Christian scenario. And then somebody else will say, do you believe this is going to happen? And it'll be like a 5D Earth, new Earth, old Earth split. And then somebody will ask me, you think this is going to happen? Because I talk to people all over the world, all different backgrounds. So I really get the understanding of these various realities playing out. And I always say that I do not claim any one reality line. And I highly suggest that's a fantastic way to live. But everybody do whatever you want to do, of course. But I don't claim one reality line. I surf the waves that are above these specific increments and allow myself to remain more in my vastness. So this pulls me out of religion, it pulls me out of politics, it pulls me out of all of these cycle spaces of just old regurgitated fear, judgment, separation, divisiveness. That's all they were ever set up to be, really. And it is no longer something most of us that are awakened. It is something that we just understand and we just don't want anything to do with it, really. So we don't really embed ourselves in any one space or any one reality or any one role or any one title, but we allow ourselves to maintain our wholeness and we allow ourselves to come from that space. That is going to assist as you be the new human. That is going to assist as you be the new human, that you just allow that people have realities that they see playing out. I have so many people that will talk to me about certain things, and I have none of that going on in my life at all. And I live on the planet they all live on, and I understand that, but I don't experience it because it's not something I allow on my radar, if you will. And there's another space of this as well, and that is really allowing yourself to trust yourself more, to get out of your head and trust yourself more, because this reality and all of the various increments and possible spaces of realities, they in many ways they are very, so temporary and fleeting in comparison to your eternal being. If I could share one sentence and say, if you don't take anything else, take this thing home with you and stick it in your back pocket, it would be to imagine having lived this glorious life, this precious, beautiful life, to imagine having lived it from a space of love and from a space of trusting yourself and trusting that you have a beautiful spiritual team, spaces of yourself that are always with you, guiding you, protecting you, loving you, you protecting you, you guiding you, you loving you. It's not an outside deal. It's all you in variations and increments of you. But being able to know that you live your life, this precious virginal space, from that understanding and love, and not living your whole life and then being at that point where you transition out into the next space of you and looking over your life and seeing that it was lived from fear or battle or anger or continued strife in some way or another. You deserve to live in the alignment of love. Your body deserves to live in the alignment of love. and it emanates out of us. And our families, our friends all begin picking up on that vibration. And they can lean in and allow if they choose, but it is not our place to judge how they do what they do, when they do what they do. We are to do our own understandings, our own path, our own choices, and allow and trust the unfolding, trust the unfolding. And these teachings, we could sit here and elaborate on each and every space for hours, because there's so much here. There's so much here. But be open to watching the video again. Be open to watching it again. You will pick up on things that you didn't pick up on the first time, because your consciousness, your energy, your being is at a different space of itself than it was even 39 minutes ago. So keep that in mind as you have the opportunity to watch it again. Put it on in the background. I know I talk kind of slow. You might want to adjust the speed. You can do that on the videos. You can do the settings and adjust the speed and make it faster if you want. But all of this information is here for you to just be with you. I walk beside you. I'll hold your hand if you want to hold my hand. And I walk beside you as you continue to find more of you and anchor it into this now and live from that glorious space of all that you are. So thank you so much for being here with me in this space. I will go ahead and just say, is there anyone who has a question before I close this? You're always welcome to email me as well. But if anyone has a question they'd like to chat in or come off mute, just let me know. Give you a second here, just in case. All right. Okay. All right. I think we're good then. All right. Let me see.
I'll be Meredith's proxy. We love you.
You are so good. Thank you, Quantum Kate. Thank you, Janet Kate. I
We
love
love you.
I love you all. I love you all so much. I'm so grateful to be with you. It is such an honor. So thank you so very much for being in this space with me. Okay, thank you. I get some feedback in the chat. Beautiful class from Holly. Thank you. And yes, we love you. Love you, love you. Oh, thank you, Holly. Love you, love you. Oh, look at all these beautiful ones. Hello, 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 Connie, Doreen, Holly, Amy, Debbie. Hello, Tanya. Hello, hello, Maya, Robert, Lamia. Did I do it? Lamia. I hope I did it right.
Yes, it's Lamia.
Okay. All right. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. Okay. Well, I love you all. Thank you unendingly. You have an incredibly beautiful, blessed now, wherever you are on this beautiful earth. All right.